Hello everyone, my name is Kanika and as we met before also in the previous slides, we learnt about how do you draw a bar graph, a pictograph and so on, and we learnt about double bar graph as well. So today we will be moving on to the next part of the chapter data handling, that's probability. So give me a minute, let me share my slides with you. All right. So, as we discussed, as we started with the data handling in the previous slides, today we will be talking about another part of the chapter, that is probability. So, we will be talking about probability, the definition, then we will be talking about what a sample space means, what is an outcome of an event, what are equally likely events, and how do you relate probability in real life. So, let's understand this concept in the further slides. So, what do you think what probability means? Probability, let's take an example to understand it better. Probability is basically when you are providing numbers to an uncertain situation. Basically, when, let's say, a person is going outside and carrying an umbrella. Now, one day he forgot to carry the umbrella. So, what is the chance that there might be a rain or there might not be a rain? So, this situation can be represented in the form of numbers. So, that presentation of uncertain situation in the form of numbers is known as the probability. So, let's understand what's the definition is. Chance is something that is taken in everyday life. Probability is the study of chance of occurring of a particular event. For example, taking a raincoat on a cloudy day because there are chances of rain. Preparing for a topic in exams because chance of it coming is more. This is one of the examples. Buying waitlisted train ticket because the chance of it confirming is high. So these all are the examples of probabilities, as in there might be a possibility that it will occur or it may not occur. So when you represent such situations with the help of numbers, we call that situation as probability, or we call that branch of math as probability. Let's take one more example. So let's say there is a shopkeeper, he wants to buy some quantity of sugar. Now how will he decide like what quantity he has to purchase? So he will be looking at his previous month's sale. There might be a possibility that the sugar which he purchased would be like he would be selling it, or otherwise there might be a possibility that he will be left with some amount. So when you represent this whole situation with the help of numbers, that situation or that branch of math is known as the probability, which we will be going to learn. So when you relate this definition to math, probability of occurrence of an event is defined as ratio of favorable outcomes to the total outcomes. Favorable outcome means, let's say we want that it should rain. So probability that it should rain is the favorable outcome. There are only two chances, either it will rain or it will not. So that means total outcomes are 2 and favorable outcome is 1. We want that it should rain. So probability comes out to be 1 by 2. So this is how you represent uncertain situation with the help of numbers. So this concept is known as probability. Let's move further. Now let's talk about the sample space. Sample space means it's the total collection of all the possible outcomes of an event, of a random experiment, I should say. Experiment means, let's say you are rolling a die. So that is known as experiment. Rolling a die is an experiment. Now experiment is again out of two types. First is random or probabilistic. Or it could be deterministic. Basically, if we talk about experiment, before starting this probabilistic and deterministic experiment, experiment is a series of steps to get a result. This is what you do in science as well. Suppose I want to get some result out of an experiment, I have to follow some steps. You must have done this in science also. So in this, if we talk about, if we relate the experiment term to math, so experiment is basically collection of a lot of steps, and each step, or yeah, each step is known as the trial. Like if we talk about tossing of a coin, tossing of a coin 100 times. So this tossing of a coin 100 times is known as experiment, and each toss is known as trial. So basically, in this experiment of tossing of coin of 100 times, there are 100 trials in this. Now, experiment are of two types, probabilistic and deterministic. Let's talk about deterministic first. Deterministic means the result of the experiment is known to you beforehand. Like if you do some experiment in the science, you know the result beforehand. That's known as deterministic experiment. And if we talk about the probabilistic experiment whose results are not known to you beforehand. Like for example, if you toss a coin, so either you get a head or a tail. It's not decided beforehand. So such type of experiments are known as probabilistic experiments. Now let's come back to the original term sample space. Sample space means all the possible outcomes, or all the possibilities of an experiment is known as sample space. Like if you roll a die, so there are 6 numbers on a die. So sample space for a die would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If we talk about tossing of a coin, so sample space for a coin would be head and tail. So it is collection of all the possible outcomes is known as sample space. So next, let's talk about the term outcome. An outcome is the result of a random experiment, like a rolling a die has 6 possible outcomes. So 6 possible outcomes is what? It is basically the sample space only. And an event is a set of outcomes to which a probability is assigned. One possible event is rolling a number less than 3. If we talk about rolling a die, and I want to find out the probability of getting number 6, for example. So, what is the probability of getting a number 6? There is only one possibility. That's your favorable outcome. Out of the total outcomes, that's 6. So, this is known as outcome, or the result of a random experiment. Or if we talk about tossing a coin, so what is the probability of getting a tail? So this would be 1 by 2, because there is only one possibility of getting a tail out of 2. So this is defined as the probability of getting a head. This is how you write the probability. All right. Now let's move further. Let's look at the question. Write the sample space for the given interval. Now, can you see these brackets in which the numbers are enclosed? 3 and 9. This is a square bracket. In higher grades, you will learn about the intervals. This means a closed interval. Closed interval means that all the values lies between 3 and 9, including 3 and 9. So sample space brackets 3, 9 would be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So all the values are included in this. If it would have been something like this, 3 and 9, this is known as open interval. So in this, 3 and 9 are not included in the solution set. So you have the numbers are 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8 in case of open interval. And in case of closed interval, 3 and 9 would be included. I hope the concept is clear and you can do such type of questions in the exam. All right. So let's look at these solution which is given to you as well. So as we are given this interval, all the integers are given in a closed interval. This is what we have discussed just now. We can take the values from 3 to 9. Therefore, the sample space for the given intervals are 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And we have discussed something extra as well, that's a open interval. In case of open interval, 3 and 9 are not included at all. So all the numbers which lie between 3 and 9 would be the solution set. All right. Now let's move further. Next term is equally likely outcomes. So as the name suggests, equally likely outcomes means those outcomes which have the equal probability of happening. Let's read the statement. Equally likely outcomes or equally likely events are events that have the same theoretical probability or likelihood, as in the chances of happening. So, those events which have equal chances of occurring. For example, if you toss a coin, you will get two outcomes, head and tail. Both of them have equal chances of happening. It would be 1 by 2 and 1 by 2. So such events are known as equally likely events. Events whose likelihood or chances of occurring are equal. Let's look at the table which is given. One more thing before starting, probability of an event always lies between 0 and 1. You cannot have a probability greater than 1 and less than 0. Also, we know that probability of an event would be equal to favorable outcomes divided by total outcomes. Now let us assume favorable outcomes as m and total outcomes as n. So now we can say that probability of E would be equal to m by n. All right. Now value of m can be equal to or greater than 0, but it cannot be greater than n. Although it can be equal to n, but cannot be greater than n. Obviously, favorable outcomes cannot be outside the total outcomes. That is why m cannot be greater than n, right? Now, if I take this to the other side, like you simply solve linear equations, so it would be m by n, which lies between 0 to 1. So this can be written as probability of event E. So that means you have 0, probability of event E is less than equal to 1. That means probability of any event E lies between 0 and 1, where 0 and 1 are included. When the probability of an event is 0, it is known as impossible event. Reason being, for example, let's say if we roll a die, so probability of getting a 7 on a die, that's impossible, right? So favorable outcomes would be 0 divided by total outcomes are 6. So in this case, probability would be 0. That means it's an impossible outcome. Next comes unlikely outcome. Unlikely outcome means in this, the probability or the chance of happening or occurring of an event is little less. That is why these are known as unlikely events. Next comes equally unlikely as likely, as in the chances of both the events is equal, like we talked about the tossing of a coin. In this, the chances of a head and a tail, both of them are equal. That's 50-50. That is why the probability would be 1 by 2, and these are known as equally likely outcomes or equally likely events. Next comes likely events. Likely events are those whose probability is higher. Like for example, if we talk about probability of a number, if you roll a die, probability of getting a number which is less than 5. So it would be 4 by 6, right? So 4 by 6 means it is 2 by 3. So it has more probability rather than the numbers which are greater than 4, greater than 5. So greater than 5 would be unlikely and less than 5 would be likely, because for unlikely the probability is less and likely the probability is higher. And next is when you have the probability equals to 1, that is known as certain event. For example, probability of getting a number uh, less than 7, probability of getting an integer, I should say, integer less than 7 on a die. So all the integers are less than 7. So favorable outcomes are 6. Total outcomes are 6. So 6 by 6 becomes 1. So such events are known as certain events and probability is 100%. I hope this whole concept is fine and there is no doubt at all, because this impossible and certain events are really important from exam point of view as well. All right. Now let's move further. Let's look at a question. So in the roll of a dice, what is the probability of getting a prime number? Let's solve it without looking at the solution. First of all, let's talk about a sample space. So sample space would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So this is the sample space. Now the favorable outcomes are prime numbers. Prime numbers in this are 2, 3 and 5. So probability of getting a prime number would be equal to 3 over 6, which is equals to 1 by 2. That is actually 50%. So this is how you have to solve these questions. This is the way of writing it in the exam. Hardly this is 1 mark question, but you have to present the answer in this form only, because as we all know that steps do carry marks in CBSE exams. All right, let's look at the solution given. So first of all, they have given you the sample space. Sample space is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then the prime numbers or favorable outcomes are 2, 3 and 5. So as we know that probability of getting a prime number is given by favorable outcomes divided by total outcomes. So this would be 3 by 6, which is equals to 1 by 2. Since the options are in percentage, so you can convert this into percentage as well by multiplying it with 100. All right. So 3 and 6 gets cancelled by 1 and 2. 2 and 100 gets cancelled by 50. So you get the result as 50%. This is how you need to solve the question. Fine. Now let's move further. Now, how do you relate probability in real life? Let's look at the statements given. Probability is the mathematical term of for likelihood that something will occur, such as drawing an ace from a deck of cards. Deck of cards means the playing cards. So we have 52 cards in total. And if you want to draw an ace card from a pack of cards or a deck of cards, so what is the probability of that? We will be discussing the pack of cards in later stages of the slides, and we will be doing this part in detail. So drawing an ace. So how many ace cards are there? 4. And probability of drawing an ace card out of 52 cards would be 4 out of 52. Or picking a green piece of candy from a bag of assorted colors. So this is how you use probability in real life. Like how many chances are there that out of a bag of assorted colors of candies, what is the probability that you will pick a green color piece? So this is how you can relate the probability in real life. This is basically this probability can be used in real life. You can represent the data in the form of numbers for uncertain situations. Like you must have seen the weather forecast thing. They never tell you the data for 100% results. They give you the probability that it might rain. Like in this, it might be a sunny day on Tuesday, cloudy day on Wednesday, might be a possibility. There might be a possibility that it will rain on Thursday. So this is how it moves. All right. This is how you can relate probability to the real life. Like in this example, they have given you the 7-day weather forecast. So how do they judge? Obviously, they get some information from here and there, and then maybe, satellites as well. But how do they represent the data? It's not the 100% correct. There might be a possibility, like let's say if we talk about Thursday. So there might be a possibility that it may rain or it may not. So basically, the chances of occurrence of some event when you represent it with the numbers is known as probability. This is what the whole concept of this slide is. Now let's move further. Let's talk about the practice questions. So first question is write the sample space for the given interval. Again, it's a closed interval. So 4 and 9 would be included. So in this, the sample space would be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 because it's a closed interval. Next question. An event can happen in 999 ways. For a trial in this event to have a probability of 99%, what is the number of favorable events? So in this, the probability is already given to you. Total number of outcomes are given to you. You need to find out the favorable outcomes. We know that probability of an event is given by favorable outcomes divided by total outcomes. So probability is given to you as 99%, that is 99 over 100. And favorable outcomes are, we need to calculate, let's take it to be X as of now. And total outcomes are given to you as 999. So X would be equal to 99 into 999 divided by 100. So this would be approximately equal to 989. So answer would be D. Upon calculation, you will get approximate value 989.01 something. So approximate value would be 989 as per the options given to you. Let's cross check our answers. So as we discussed, the sample space would be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 989 for the second question. I hope you enjoyed the video and every concept is clear to you. We will be discussing the probability in further slides. So please catch up with us on the second slides as well. Thank you. Stay safe. Enjoy.